On the question of freedom of expression as it relates to the law, one cannot start a discussion of this nature by not starting from the top. Where does the law and our rights come from as it relates to freedom of expression? We know that our Constitution is supreme, and of course, under our Constitution, persons are entitled to their fundamental rights and freedoms. However, that same Constitution recognizes that that is subject to you respecting the rights and freedom of others. So yes, you have a fundamental right to freedom of expression. However, you have to respect the rights and freedom of others in the process. And respecting the rights and freedom of others would also include respecting the rights to a person's reputation. And this brings us smack on to the law of libel and slander. And of course, from a broader perspective, defamation. In Dominica, we do not have a Defamation Act. However, we do have a Libel and Slander Act. The defamatory allegation is one which is either tends to make people think the worst of the claimant, or avoid him or expose him to ridicule. That is, in essence, is what defamation is all about. So if you say something and you disparage a man in his profession or his calling, so for example, you say a married woman is a whore, of course you're alleging that the woman is involved in adultery. And if you say that a priest is a womanizer, obviously you're saying that the man is breaking his vows. So basically that is what defamatory allegation comprises in terms of what really the allegation is about. There was a case out of Jamaica that we used to do often with that, I think it's still used today, of course, because it's a case and it's on the law books, out of Jamaica, Griffiths and Dawson. And in that case, what had happened, I think it was an employee who had alleged that her boss, or his boss, was a criminal. And he made comments to the effect, you criminal, you're trying to block me from moving on and getting a job and getting a promotion, you criminal, you. Of course, the court felt that that statement was merely a vulgar abuse. It was not defamatory. Why? Because it is not the type of statement that an ordinary person listening to would really believe that that person really is in fact a criminal. So what must the claimant do in the process? In order to bring a defamation action, the claimant must prove that the defendant has published or is responsible for the publication of a defamatory allegation, which is understood to refer to he, the claimant. And when we speak of publication, what are we talking about? We're speaking about a letter, a newspaper article, something on the radio, the Calypso of Checo. On the TV, yeah, we had a case not too long ago, right in Dominica, Marina Marshall case, where one person, I think, took the head of the claimant and put it on some nude body and blasted it across the internet. So in a nice little zip file or folder, you go on across the net. Defamatory material, a defamation action is brought. Usually the claimant will be named in the issue. There is no problem in identifying who the claimant is. But there are times when the person is not named, but there are inferences. Again, the case of our brother Cheku, who is Ambassador A. An Ambassador A was named in the song, and a person came forward and felt that they were the person being spoken about or sung about in the Calypso, and unfortunately, Brother Cheku did not put in a defense, so the court was left with the evidence that was before them, and they had to rule on the matter. And they did rule on the matter. In terms of defenses, the main defenses that you would find, there are about 3 of them, the 3 common defenses that you would find where a defamatory action is brought. You have the case of the defense of justification, which really means that what was published is a truthful statement, or what was published is substantially true. So that is a complete defense, justification. And we also have the defense of fair comment. That's another interesting one. Fair comment, basically, defense protects a statement of comment or an opinion as opposed to the statement of fact. So, prime ministers are generally fair game. Prime Minister of Dominica, Prime Minister of Grenada, St. Vincent, Trinidad, that's the game. Fair game, we see. Because usually, these are the people you find that get the most attacks when it comes to carnival and calypso writing and so. So you make a comment to the effect that the Prime Minister of, whether it's Dominica, Grenada, St. Vincent, whichever, the Prime Minister is not a very bright person. If you believe, you genuinely believe in that statement, that is an honest comment that you made, an honest opinion, and that opinion that you have expressed about the Prime Minister is based on identifiable true facts, you're very likely to succeed in a defense of fair comment, because you made you preferred an honest opinion based on facts that you can identify, and you believed in those facts, so that you expressed an opinion there. One of the other common defenses is the defense of privilege. In circumstances, the law regards freedom of speech to be more important than the protection of the reputation and allegation which may be false and defamatory. And that's the defense of qualified privilege. One of the best examples of privilege generally, because we have, I said privilege initially, but we have absolute privilege and what one might use as, one might refer to as qualified privilege. Absolute privilege, generally, statement made maybe in the courts or in parliament. In some countries, what you found is that the bigger countries, they've actually codified absolute privilege in a defamation act. So you have it working, it's a sort of mixture of the common law, which is the case law, or the laws that are written in cases, combined with a piece of legislation that was passed in Parliament. So that generally would take us in the realm of absolute privilege. Under privilege, we also have what we refer to as qualified privilege. And the most popular case for qualified privilege is the House of Lords decision in Reynolds versus Times newspaper. There, what the court did is that they widened the scope of privilege and brought in persons persons like the media to say that these groups in the society or these people in the society can raise a defense of qualified privilege, especially in situations where the court is of the opinion that the statement was made in circumstances whereby, in those circumstances, the public had a great interest in the matter at hand. And of course, yours truly was involved in a matter recently where the only thing that saved us was the defense of qualified privilege. That was the case of Lennox Linton versus Kieron Peanut Gooden. So in that case, what the court felt, yes, the claimant or the first named appellant, Linton, did use words that in the court's opinion were defamatory against Mr. Gooden. However, statements that were made by Linton were of such public interest that the defense of qualified privilege had to stand to save in those circumstances. So yes, the words were defamatory. However, that is a matter of sufficient public interest. And I would want to argue that maybe one of those days the Calypsonians might be able, or Calypsonian might be able to raise the defense of qualified privilege maybe in a Calypso. Because there are certain hurdles, of course, that you would have to surmount. You'd have to establish certain things that, well, that you did your research, that your research was substantial, and if you feel to yourself that or your lawyer feels to himself or herself that your case or your words which were uttered are such that they are sufficient, or they were uttered in circumstances that the matter is of sufficient public interest. Well, you never know. Court might uphold your defense in those circumstances. Gypsy the Calypsonian made the comment in a song a couple years ago. I write the songs that champions the poor man's cause. I who write the songs that circumvent the laws. But how does the Calypsonian write the song to circumvent the laws? Tempo mentioned ways that they can be done. Jacko mentioned ways that they can be done. Through clever, creative, and effective use of language. That's what I'm submitting. That's the only way. Clever and effective use of language. Language is the basic tool that music, you use your music to augment everything. But your language is critical. So go to an English teacher, go to a literature teacher with your ideas and ensure that you are sufficiently creative. And we have many songs over the years where Calypsonians have proved time and time again that it is the language. Shadow out of Trinidad, snakes in the Balize and the biting hard. Snakes in the Balize, destroying Trinidad. What the man singing about? The Balize is the emblem of the People's National Movement, the PNM. At that time, PNM was in power. Corrupt practices by members of the PNM. They're destroying the society. Again, Dominica, Mafiala, Patrino, Senuki Nomtela. Wrong the country is agriculture. What we got is just pure banana, common Mafiala, Prime Minister, Mafiala, Patrino. Mighty Choke, talking about Mamo, Eugenia Charles, and the handling of the economy and the treatment to the banana farmers at the time. Cinderella, Mighty Pep out of St. Lucia. Can you tell us Cinderella? No longer a fairy tale, flesh and blood on a human scale. Can you tell a mystery fella? In a sudden dramatic climb, rags to riches in record time. But between me and you, we all bet, we jealously we blue. Because if we're in their shoes, it's the same thing that we'll do. What the man singing about? Drug barons. Drugs. The barons in the society. People peddling drugs and unjust enrichment. And of course, there are many other examples. Sparrow, Jean and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina, round the corner posing, best you like is something they selling. And if you catch them broken, you could get them all for nothing. You make a row, the Yankees gone, Sparrow take over Tom. Right? Now, I am sure I mean, I wasn't there inspired with the song, but I am sure that there are persons there were persons in society back then that you could identify round the corner, talking about prostitution, illegal activity. You have to find creative ways to do it. One other thing, one other illustration I would like to make is Chopness, Afraid Carl. Carlos and Philip Grenadian, originally of blessed memory, he passed earlier this year. May he rest in peace. He was the Attorney General of Trinidad at the time. They say, from that song, this Africa, they say a young minister was found in a hotel with a call girl in town. But I is singing about that. Afraid the Sedition Act. Afraid Carl. The minister still get licks. He still get licks. How do you circumvent the law? There is one song that I would like to bring up at this time. And I think, to me, this is the best that I have heard for the decade. And it may be the best in a long time.
I aim to keep things together. It's pressure for soul. It's pressure for soul. All you feel this thing is a big, big show. In getting a coalition to work. And you know every people under stress and strain. You're thirsty, we're crying anyway. But we would call some friends together and bring out a flask. So why all you say we pee and down a glass? Cause every day she have to hear something gone wrong. Why you must say she can't have anything strong? Always on call with plenty papers to go through. Man, after all, Lady PM is supposed to. In several meetings she skips, as around the world she sips, with plenty of overseas trips. You would think she deserves some sips. Waiting, with she government on the brink, the partnership ready to sink. I think she deserves a drink. Waiting, how? Waiting, waiting. You tell me, after local government night, our Lady PM rebels. So why to her success she got it the toast? Cause every day she have to get something gone wrong. So why you must say she got anything strong? Always on call with plenty papers to go through. Man, after all, Lady PM is supposed to. She really deserves some support. Look out.
Yeah, that was one of a heavy point then. The last line, she really deserves some support. Look how many battles she fought. Even bring Pandey to naught. Why you want to take away she pity court? What do you think? No. This is a song where a man mash up a party, punch a prime minister in her face, call her drunkard in a satirical way, in a nice way, in a pleasurable way, in a way that the prime minister herself would be dancing and waltzing away. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? No, because she really deserves the support. She's justifying everything I said. She really deserves our support. Look how many battles she fought. Even bring Pandey to naught. Why you want to take where she pity court? Several battles, several meetings she slips while around the world she trips. So, I mean, you think she deserves some sips? After local election night, the woman, Lady Pierre, real boss. So why you want to say she entitled to live a toast? What do you think? She must so question It's a question, as he says up the beginning. This is Chucky Gordon with a question. What do you think? Well, in Dominica, we are a little more formal. We have a little local palace with what you think. Trini say, what do you think? This is how I think it has to be done, or it should be done. This is the way you have to circumvent. And for the time being, I have to take a pause because I know we are limited, right, Mr. Chair? I think it is important to note, and that's coming from me, it's important to note that to date, Calypsonians, they have no special rights or privileges under the law. None at all. As we saw with our brother Checo. Therefore, my caution is to exercise care in constructing your lyrics. You see, I think the real issue in all of that is the law and the application of the law to the facts. As a former lecturer of mine would say, when we were doing criminal law, Justice Odell Adams, Justice Adams taught us criminal law, and Justice Adams would always say, law is not mathematics, you know, Mr. Stowe. Law is not mathematics. So in law, sometimes 2 and 2 is 1, and 2 and 2 is 2, and 2 and 2 is 4, and 2 and 2 is 10. That is the law. So you will find that maybe if Checo had put in a defense, you go before one judge, the judge rules one way, the same set of facts, you go to another judge and argue the case, and he rules another way. A panel of 3 or court of appeal, you might go to the court of appeal, a panel of 3 rule one way, and another panel of 3 may very well rule another way, application of the law to the facts. So remember always that we as writers, Calypsonians, you have no special privilege under the law. And I'll pause for there.